Ricmotech GT Challenge, broadcasted Mondays live on Apex Racing TV. Visit ExtremeMotorsports99.com for series and schedule details. Broadcast coverage next.
Welcome to the Ricmotech GT Challenge here from Suzuka. We are going to have an incredible 75 minutes of racing here tonight. Sorry about the technical difficulties getting the broadcast underway, but we are here indeed, and the grading process has already begun. Andrew Karen will start on pole from Ivano Sim Racing, with Aero Nom off pole in second. Arbera Costa will start in third, with Mike Dam in fourth. William Laster rounds out your top five. Ian Gagon Renault will sit down in sixth place, with Travis Schwenke seventh, Michael Arcrudo in eighth, Justin Ram in ninth, and Angel Ledesma will round out your top 10. Robert Hartley in 11th, Caden Bien in 12th, then it's Elvis Rankin in 13th, Julian Bell in 14th, Jennifer McDonald 15th. The rest of your grid is rolling through on your screen now. Then we head down into your GTD field. It will be Dennis Sarvac who will start on the pole position alongside Esteban Rodriguez. Brandon Misler will start in third, with Anthony Pisano in fourth, Jim List fifth, Tyler Galmente in sixth, Ignacio Hortel in seventh, Tyler Shiflett third, Kevin Brogas in ninth, and then Eric Violet will round out your top 10 in that class. Again, grid rolling through on your screen. But again, once again, folks, sorry for the late start to the broadcast. We are just now getting everything underway here, and we should be good. It's myself, only myself, in the commentary booth tonight, and I will be taking you through the 75 minutes of racing action we have on offer for you here from Suzuka, which is a incredible circuit, and should see some close racing all the way through the field. Pace cars rolling. The field will be in the hands of Aero Nom and Aaron and Andrew Karen here very, very shortly. We'll kick off what is the second round of the Ricmotech GT Challenge, season number 2. So the field rounds the very short pace lap that we have on offer here in Suzuka. They'll round the second to last corner and through that final chicane. Now on to the front straightaway this time. Pace car is in the pit lane. Field is in the hands of Andrew Karen. Onto the front straightaway they go, and we wait for him to gun it. Field is in the hands, and we wait. He's still holding the field here. There we go, green flag in the air. We're racing here from Suzuka. They're going to already fan out 3 and 4 wide behind them. Look at that, 3 or 4 rows down. We see there 3 wide towards turn number 1. Usually doesn't work, but they cycle it down to 2 wide and make it work this time. No one spun around so far in turn number 1. Everyone clean thus far. Now we head back to your GTD field, which is just about to get underway here in a few seconds' time. They will round the final corner and on to the front straightaway. Field of the hands of Esteban Rodriguez. Green flag is out for them, and they're racing. Look at the launch then from the third row of the grid. I believe that is Jim List in the D2D Esports BMW, who's a few rows back there. Actually, sorry, D2D Esports Mercedes AMG, so it's a quite heavily dominated Mercedes field, but Tyler Galmente gets pushed out wide. There's another car spun around in the background. I think that is, Tyler Galmente then actually spun around in the background. Here's another few incidents. Brandon Misler as well. Oh, what an unfortunate start there for the F4H Racing. Esteban Rodriguez, also spun around. So the 3 F4H Racing guys who started all inside of, I think, the top 5 or at least top 10 are now to the rear of your GTD field. And there is a full course yellow out on the racetrack. You can see it there at the bottom of your screen. So we have a full course caution. We've actually never had a full course caution, but all the times that I've commentated on the GT Challenge Series, but the field is being brought to a slow period. So this is how that specific situation will work here. We'll conduct virtual cautions if needed, direct the class leaders for the pit stops, and the leaders will control the pace. They'll resort the green, and they'll resort the fields, and the green will be driven verbally, and it will be a single file restart. So this is going to be interesting to see, because I know I haven't seen this done in the GT Challenge Series before, so I'm sure the drivers really haven't had much practice with this thus far at all. So current race leader is Andrew Karen. You can see he's brought the field down to a pretty slow pace here. Aeronom still stays in second, and Aber Acosta sits in third. Movano Sim Racing, by the way, currently sitting 1-3, and then F4H Racing and their 4 GTs currently sit 4th and 5th, with the lone Team Bushfink driver of Aeronom sitting in 2nd place. So that's how the top 5 looks over in your GTLM field. I'm going to see if I can quickly find a replay of exactly what happened then on the start. Tyler Shiflett also must have been involved in that one, because he is in the pit lane here. Brandon Misler, Esteban Gutierrez, and Tyler Galmente all involved in that one on the start here. So unfortunate start for those 3. They've obviously had some big, massive issues, and we may be able to actually get a replay here of exactly what happened in your GTD field. So here we go. Let's see if we can catch it on this replay. We should be able to here. So we're going to do a nice zoomed-in replay here and see if we can figure out what happened. So there is Tyler Galmente. We'll actually skip back about 10 seconds. So oh, he actually gets tagged by Tyler Shiflett then because of his teammate, Brandon Misler, coming on the racetrack. Then Brandon Misler, let's see exactly what happens with Misler. Oh, he gets turned early then by the BMW of, I believe, Anthony Pisano. So we'll see if there's any penalties that come forth from that one, because a lot of incidents all the way up and through the field with a lot of different drivers involved. So we'll have to see if race control decides to take a look at that, or if they just try and sort it out on the racetrack. They just let it go. You can see the different manufacturers that the drivers have decided to go with here. There's obviously all 4 GTE manufacturers represented in the field this season. When safety car lights are out, and we will go green flag racing this time, as you can see there from the race control messages at the bottom of your screen. But in your GTLM field, your GTEs within iRacing, we actually have we have all 4 manufacturers represented here. We have the BMW, Ferrari, Ford, and Porsche. And all 3 of them are represented. And then in your GTD field, we have the Mercedes, the Audi, and the BMW all in that field. So we have a nice spread of cars all the way through the field. But as we wait and wait here, the drivers will cycle themselves around, and the field will be in the hands of Andrew Karen when they come back around to the line, and the race control will have control of the green flag when they head onto the front straightaway this time. So the field is in the hands of the field is actually in the hands of race control, sorry. But Andrew Karen will lead the field out in your GTLM. Dennis Servac will lead the field out in GTD. So as we head out of the final corner, race control has the green flag at the ready. green flag in the air. We're back racing here for the Ricmotech GT Challenge Season 2, round number 2. They all fan out quickly here. You can see 3 and 4 wide in the background. There's already contact then between Miguel Crudo and the Delta Racing car, AJ Ledesma, and a couple others involved in that one. The front end, though, stays the same, but the rest are battling hard behind. You can see there Mike Dam involved in a battle with Caden Bien. He's got Miguel Arcredo all over the back of him here as they swoop through the S's now. Up the hill for the first time, and they all make it through cleanly this time, but we'll look back at your GTD field in a moment. Back to your GTD field here as they're on the front straightaway this time. We get ready to go here. As they climb up through the S this time, everyone actually gets through cleanly, so we have no major incidents, but we do have 2x2 further back between Jan Ford and Brandon Whitworth. They're still going to stay side by side here as they head up the hill, and it will be Whitworth who will hang on. Let's jump back to the front of your GTLMs because we have Caden Bien all over the rear bumper of William Laster, the F4H Racing William Laster, having to defend here from RSR Esports Caden Bien. You can see they're looking left and right then. Bien can't find a way around. Wonderful diversity in the sounds we have. So first competitive lap times to come through. Well, semi-competitive lap times at least come through. And it was Andrew Caron, obviously, with the fastest lap, being that he was the first one to cross the finish line. He currently holds a 1 second advantage over Aeronom. That's probably one of the biggest advantages we've seen in a while here. Instant between car 5 and 24's under review. That's Tyler Galmente and Tyler Shiflets. That may have been from the original start that we saw a few minutes ago. So I think we actually will have Tyler Vickery joining us here. Tyler, welcome to the Ricmotech GT Challenge. You're back after some time in the Ricmotech series, and great to have you back with commentary.
Absolutely. Yeah, apparently I must have looked at the schedule wrong, so my apologies on that, because apparently I assumed that it was for next week. So that's my apologies to you there.
All good. We had an exciting start to the race thus far. First ever full course caution that we've seen in the series. We've never seen them conduct this, but it went beautifully as it usually does with the Ricmotech series, and we're currently watching an amazing battle between Caden Bien, who's just up the road, Miguel Arcrudo, Mike Dam, and Angel Ledesma all involved in this one. I think even Aber Acosta as well in the Bavano sim racing. So we have a very large train here, as you usually do at Suzuka, and it's definitely delivering thus far.
Absolutely. As watching, as I saw, we had a few other incidents as well, but it's great racings overall, and a lot of new names that I am definitely going to have to read through, because some of these names I do not recall from last year.
Yeah, we've certainly had a lot of new drivers join the field, especially with the addition of this brand new series last season. It made its debut at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, and then now we had a very successful season last season, and they're over to season number 2. So it's a wonderful addition. We have a lot of cars out there. 55 cars took to the start tonight, or 51 cars took to the start. 55 cars were registered originally for the session. So we had a lot of drivers registered, and a lot of drivers take to the start as well. It's a wonderful thing to see for a series this young.
Absolutely. It's amazing to see that many field drivers coming in to sign up. So A lot of great racing from all the way up to the front, all the way to the back, and I can see where Schwenke's at. Looks like he's having some hits. Oh, we got some crashing earlier. Angel Ledesma. I know I'm a little behind. It seems like as I'm having issues with the server now.
So it was Iberia Costa having a bit of connection issues with the server, and that was the number 82 of Angel Ledesma as well. So those two involved in that incident down into the hairpin in that one. So very unfortunate incident. It looked to me like just a bit of connection issues. And we have another driver as well off. That's going to be, a few drivers off actually on the inside of the race circuit. That's Darren Clement and Derek Holland, both around in the center or through that very long left-hander. Also, Andre Saunders as well around in that one. And Mike Dam. He's been so quick in the previous weeks. He's off and into the wall. Replay up on your screen.
Oh man, really unfortunate there for Mike Dam. One of the always front runner, no matter where he's at. It looks like it was in the S's too that he had the issue, and just not working out.
Yeah, very tricky corner that one is. I mean, you're coming through at such high speeds through turn 15. When the rear end gets a little bit loose, it goes quite quickly. We're going to jump back forward, though, in your GTLM field. Let's look at this battle for 7th place. Travis Schwenke currently leads this one out. Then it's Justin Rem, Robert Hartley, Elvis Rankin, and Julian Bell, all involved in this one, and it's a very close fight for that 7th position. Travis Schwenke actually has about a 1-second lead, but then for 7th on back, it's very close.
Yeah, and great racing overall too, especially with looking at Hartley right now. He only has 0.3 of a second over the rest of the field, but you can see the train of about 8-9 cars all behind Hartley. And just looking at the gap between Hartley and Ream, or actually from Ream to Schwenke, already a full second. So it's going to be really interesting to see what this group of drivers can be able to do on trying to make up all of that gain that they've lost, especially when they're being a second behind. And Suzuka is a very challenging place on being able to make up time.
Yeah, it most certainly is. I mean, it's such a hard track to be consistent at, and that is the whole purpose of these 75-minute races. As we had a few drivers, you can see they're about 2 seconds in the lead for your GTD field at the moment, so no changes there. So we will jump back to the battle that we were just looking at here, because Rafael Sosa in the Delta Motorsport car is all over the back of Julian Bell in the graphite racing machine. And there's another car spun around. Who do we have there? That's Raymond Rodriguez for Delta Racing. He's spun round on the front straightaway. Replay up on your screen.
Ooh, just looks like he might have lost it on his own there, unless he had issues when had some more contact. So really unfortunate there for Rodriguez in that worst spot too, and that's a high speed area.
Yeah, high speed, low visibility, that one is. Luckily doesn't collect anyone else in his spin there. It looked to me like he just got a little bit too much on that AstroTurf, spun himself around, and into the wall he went. So unfortunate end to his day. He will be able to continue, but much far down the order at that.
Yeah, the AstroTurf has been very difficult, and especially with the newer updates too. iRacing, with some of the latest build updates they had, that AstroTurf has a lot more slicker compared to previous.
Yeah, it most certainly has. And whenever you're going through at such high speeds with a lot of load on the outside tires, it can be a very tricky corner to get right, because that 1 second that you get on that AstroTurf and it does start to send the car around, it's pretty much gone before you can even save it. Because it's just so quick that it sends a car around.
Yeah, and when you look at the GTE's cars as well, when you watch these guys running around the track, it's just, you have the BMW, which is a really wide body that can be able to keep its center of gravity low. But then you have the Ferrari and the Porsche, which a lot of those are more nimble. However, especially when you look at it, especially with the Porsche and the Ferrari, you got a lot further back end. With a Ferrari, so it's easily to be able to loop them around with a Ferrari as well as with the Porsche as well.
Yeah, most certainly is. We have a side-by-side here for 8th place. Justin Rem for RSR Esports on the inside. Rubber Hartley on the outside. Hartley can't make it done. It's so difficult to go around the outside through turn 1 because you just have to go so much farther than the driver on the inside.
Yeah, and especially when that turn 1, that long right-hander, you're going into turn 1, still going about maybe 120, 130 miles an hour, and then you have to hit that braking zone while you're turning going into 2 before you even head towards the S's. And that's where it's really a big key to have that right setup as well. Because if you don't have the right setup, you could easily be going wide.
Yeah, most certainly is. And I think at this point we've seen these drivers, they know how tough this league can be. I mean, we have the best of the best, and we have nearly 20 or 30 of them in the GTE field. And whenever you put that many really fast drivers out on the field, you really have to have everything in line if you want to be able to win. But look at this. Rubber Hartley all tucked up behind of Justin Rem for RSR Esports right on board here with Rubber Hartley. We go on the top roof cam, and we'll see if he can make the move down here through turn 15 and 130R.
Looking now, hopefully Hartley's going to have to use all the momentum he can, especially with these BMWs. If you have the rear wing low enough, it's not close to flat, but if you keep that about a degree or so, you should be able to get the run, and we'll see if he can try to make the pass through 130.
Yeah, we'll see if he can make it through now the last curve and down towards turn number 1. They're on the front straightaway this time. But let's look at this. We got side-by-side for 4th place. William Laster and Caden Bien side-by-side. I believe that was Bien trying to go around the outside then on William Laster, but he wasn't able to get it done here. And Laster will hold on to the position for now, but we got to keep an eye on the ever-fast Caden Bien because he is rapid in that Ferrari.
I believe Ben was the quickest ran the quickest lap time out of all of the drivers. I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say Ben was the quickest. So Ben's on a hard charge right now. If he can get around Laster, then he's got a nice 2.5-second gap that he can try to start pushing on catching up to Gagnon and Renaud.
Yeah, Ian Gagnon, we know how quick he can be. I mean, he's got a 1.8-second lead over these guys, but we've seen him be so quick. I believe he actually came out with the win in the first round, so he's certainly not slow by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, first, though, Caden Bien's got to get by his teammate, William Laster, and you know William is not going to let him by easily, knowing that his teammate's the next car up the road, because it makes sense for them to try to secure points for each other.
No, absolutely, and then it's going to be probably, if they're going to go team-wise, it's usually best to even try to work together if they can. We'll find a way to be able to help each other, maybe even be able to catch up to Aeronam or Andrew Cannon if they can. As I'm finally loaded in, I can be happy now and actually see it live.
Most certainly, and Andrew Karen, now he's got a 2.2-second lead over the ever-quick Aeronam. We just saw Aeronam actually lose a race for what has been about a season and a half in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, but he's coming in the GT Challenge. This is side-by-side through turn number 1. He can't get it done, though, can Caden Bien. He tries the switchback, still not able to get it done. Through Snake, they go here for what is the 9th time in this race. They've already got a ton of laps under their belt. We're only 20 minutes into an hour and 15-minute race. We will see pit stops in this race, and we'll see them come at around the 30-minute mark to the 40-minute mark for both classes.
And with those, and it's going to be very interesting as well, as you can tell Caden is frustrated trying to get through the snake. It was just, he had a really good opportunity, but that Ford's just got a little bit more nimble with the setup. It seems like he's able to get control. William Laster is able to control that much easier compared to Caden. So, well, let's see what happens here on the long left right-hander here. See what Caden can be able to take an opportunity to see if he can make an overtake.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one of the biggest things with the Ford. It's such a good handling car, but it usually just doesn't have the overall straight line speed that the Ferrari does, but that's really where the Ferrari excels in its straight line speed capabilities here. Now, down the back stretch this time and towards 130R, which is the fastest point on the racetrack almost. It's one of the fastest corners on the racetrack. Then they'll head down into Casino Triangle. But I don't think that Bien will be able to get it done this time. He always has gotten a good run, though, at a Casino Triangle and through the final curve. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get alongside again. But if he can, I'm not sure if he should choose the outside. I mean, because it's just not worked for him now 2 and 3 times.
Yeah, I can agree with that. If the outside's not going to work, I would try to make an opportunity next, stay right behind him. Try to hook up with William. See what you can find with his line and take advantage of it if you can. Because it just seems like you're really struggling, and in my opinion, you're tearing up the tires. Make a move to get around him.
And we have side-by-side here between Justin Rim and Robert Hartley. They're still side-by-side here through the snake. And at the top of the corner, we almost had contact then at the top of the hill. But they continue on this time. Incident review between car 14 to 202. We'll check that out in just a moment. But these guys are still side-by-side here as they head in towards Degna 1. Through Degna 1, it's nearly impossible to hang around the outside, but Hartley tries it. He got a touch then from Justin Rim. Couldn't make it work through Degna 2.
Wow, that was very close. That could have been easily disastrous for either one of them, but great.
Yeah, really good battling then between the two. I mean, so much respect given to each other, and we see that time and time again in this series. These drivers really know how to do some amazing racing and have zero contact in the process. I mean, there's been several times where I've thought that these guys are going to utterly crash, but they haven't. As we see Tyler Clemente here. These are the F4H racing cars who were spun around early on. They both get by Bobby Childs in the D2D Esports BMW. So Tyler Clemente and Esteban Rodriguez, they are both moving up the field now. Clemente up in a 5th, Rodriguez into 6th, Childs all the way down to 8th.
Childs is just struggling, and especially with that BMW. It just seems like Childs cannot. Looks like he can't get the handling, and especially it looks like he's also one of the only few BMWs, and it's just really good car, but for this track, it just seems like you don't have a lot of straight line speed, and especially with that small, the handling is perfect. I mean, don't get me wrong, handling's great, but it's just that top speed where you really lose out, and especially against the Mercedes.
Yeah, and I mean, the Mercedes is just such an overall strong car, is it? And the BMW, it's just not one of those cars that's fast at every circuit. While it can be very, very quick, and it's a wonderful addition to the series as well. I mean, you love to see a new car come in that we haven't gotten to see before, and it's wonderful to see, as actually Robert Hartley has now gotten by Justin Rim, and now he's under pressure is Justin from Elvis Rankin, the young Elvis Rankin, just behind him. So now as they head through Degna 2 and into the hairpin, it's going to be a pretty decent task here for Elvis Rankin to get by, because we've seen how fast that RSR Esports BMW is, and it took Robert Hartley about 5 or 6 tries to actually be able to pull off a move on him.
The run with him, he is just unbelievable with how he's able to run this series and be able to be very, very.
So we see here we're on board with William Laster, or on board, sorry, with Caden Bien, and he tried to move then, thought about it, round the outside through 130R, couldn't make it work. Through Casino Triangle this time. We've seen him be super, super strong through here. This is the closest he's been in some laps. Let's right in the cockpit here with William Laster now. And we can see that F4H Racing for 4GT just ahead of him. He pulls to the left-hand side. It's going to be a big ask to get it around the outside. He's not going to be able to make it work here. He's going to get pushed wide, and this is only costing them time, because now Ian Gagon Renault is up to 3.5 seconds almost ahead of this group. So as we run through here, you can see, we'll check back in on your GTD leader, Dennis Servac for Band of Others Racing. He currently leads the field out by 4.6 seconds over Anthony Pisano now. Russ Ruddick and Jennifer McDonald both into the pit lanes. Unfortunate for them. They are, I think, going to call this one early here, or at least they have a very early pit stop, so that's not what they want to see early on here. Then it's Ignacio Hortel just behind Anthony Pisano for second. That's your top three in GTD. Now, top four, we're looking at Jim List in fourth, and then Caleb Lavender sitting down in fifth. So that's your top five in your GTD field. It hasn't been all that close other than the two teammates, but now Jim List in the D2D Esports Mercedes AMG is joining the party. So there you go. Possibly an incident between Russ Ruddick and Jennifer McDonald. They were both in the pit lane, and they're both under review then for the incident that they had together, I'm assuming, because of the incident graphic down there at the bottom.
Yeah, it just seemed it's really unfortunate. They were having getting up there in the top and back. Probably going to be drawn the 30th out of the top division. What?
So I think Tyler is having a little bit of issues here with his mic. So while he sorts that one out, we will quickly kind of go through the field a little bit. So Andrew Karen, he's currently dominated this field thus far in the race, and he's up to a 3.2 second advantage. Aeronam is down in second place for Team Bushfink. He is, again, 3.5 seconds almost behind Andrew Karen. Then it's Ian Gagnon-Renault, who's about another 3 seconds adrift of Aeronam. So your top three very much separated out. Then William Laster is actually caught back up here to his teammate. He's now down to a 1 second gap. And then William Laster has Kane Bien all over him at just about 0.3 of a second behind. So that's your top five in GTLM. Miguel Arcrudo, who just got by the GTD traffic there, it sits in sixth. And it's Travis Schwenke and Robert Hartley, the two teammates who are very close to each other. Less than 0.3 separate them. Then it's Justin Rim and Elvis Rankin. That is going to round out your top 10. Julian Bell for Graphite Racing down in 11th. And it's Rafael Sosa for Delta Racing just behind him. Then there's Delta Racing teammate Miguel Arcrudo down in 13th place. Los Gidiolio will be 14th with Albert Acosta just behind him from Ivano Sim Racing. That will round out your top 15. Brian Cartier for Phoenix Racing in 16th. Brandon Whitworth for D2D Esports down in 17th. Then it's Arthur Chan and Ryan Reeves. That is 18th and 19th. Michael Schlegelmich for Stantera Simsport. That rounds out your top 20 in your GTLM field. And we have a pretty close battle actually here between Chris Thorman and Angel Ledesma. Ledesma actually tries around the outside. Not able to make that one work through turn number one. Then behind them, it is the damaged Mike Dam. He had an unfortunate incident early on, and he's been shuffled down the order. George Fike is just behind him, just about 0.6 of a second adrift. Then it's Nathan Manning in Graphite Racing. He will also round out your top 25. Then it's GT Hawkins down in 26th. Raymond Rodriguez down in 27th. Shad Curran in 28th. Eric Holland in 29th. And then rounding out your top 30 is Darren Clement. And rounding out your running field at this point, it's Andre Sanders. Actually, sorry, I take that back. It's Marco Calabi who rounds out your field of running GTLM drivers. Now we go to GTD. It is Dennis Serac for Band of Others Racing who leads this one out by 5 seconds over Anthony Pisano. Ignacio Hortel in third. Those two both on RSR Esports. RSR Esports has a nice showing here, second and third at GTD. Then it's Jim List for D2D Esports, who will be in fifth. Caleb Lavender rounds out your top 5 in GTD. Esteban Rodriguez for F4H Racing. He leads out your F4H Racing train, who currently runs 6th. 7th is Tyler Galmente, and then rounding out the back of the train is Brandon Misler in 8th. Bobby Childs in 9th place for D2D Esports, and it's Kevin Bergeras for Overtake Racing in 10th. Jan Ford in 11th. Brandon Whitworth in 12th. Tony Curran in the Audi, then. It's actually one of the only Audis in the field, is down at 13th. Eric Violet is in 14th again for DTD Esports. Then Jeff Jacobs in 15th. Lucas Ford and Tyler Shiflett. They were both started the race, but currently only it goes only back to Jeff Jacobs, who is currently in 15th. So that is your entire through the field here. And while we've been doing that, Caden Bien has gotten by William Laster and now has his sights set on Ian Gagon-Renault.
And having about a second and a half gap, maybe more, it's going to be really difficult for him to be able to make it back. However, there is plenty of time, and I believe they have not, the top division has not taken the pit stops yet. So it's going to be very strategy-wise on when they're going to take their pit stops as well.
Yeah, I mean, pit stops can become such an important factor in this series. I mean, we've seen Aeronam pull off some incredible strategies here tonight, or on these races, and he's gone from, third or fourth in the train to the lead, and he's pulled off a 4-second undercut or overcut, but it's very difficult. We don't usually see him do it all that often. So I think it's going to be pretty difficult here for Aeronam to be able to close that gap to Andrew Caron in just the pit stop phase. I think Caron right now, if he can time his pit stops right, he may have this race good, well, and in a bag already, even though it's only 30 minutes in.
Absolutely, yeah. I think if he can, if the timing is just right, and especially with Suzuka, I believe the in and out time for Suzuka, pit in to pit out usually, and that's even with stopping your box, I'd say it's roughly about 40 to 50 seconds of time going into the pits and coming out. So that's going to be that's a huge amount of time that he's got to be able to time it right, not have to worry about any lap traffic, as well as to stay ahead of Aeronam.
Yeah, I mean, he most certainly does. I mean, we've seen Aeronam before pull out one of, I think, the best strategy calls I've ever seen. I mean, this man has gone from being way back, and we've not even, thought he was in the fight for the field, to all of a sudden right there in it and ready to go. As Caden Bien does have a bit of connection issues, but he's crucially caught up to Ian Gagon-Renault, who's gotten stuck behind the GTD traffic. This has now gotten all three of these drivers very close together. You can see Ian Gagon-Renault not happy with him, flashing the headlights as they all run through now. So it is ever so close for third, fourth, and fifth. This is the battle for third place on the racetrack. They're all covered by less than a second here. So while these three continue to battle, we also have a battle with Aber Acosta for Movano Sim Racing, Elvis Rankin for Little King Racing, just ahead of him, and then Los Gidiolio. This is the battle for 11th place on the racetrack. So these guys having their own little scrap a little bit further back, and then we'll see if we can find any action here in GTD. But from what I've seen, we've had, William Laster! Laster is around. Let's get a replay of that. Now down towards turn number 1. That's right on board here with William Laster. So, down into turn number 1. What? Oh, he just lost the rear end. Spins the car to the inside of the racetrack. Nicely enough for him, he gets to the inside. Doesn't cause any more incidents. And but now he is behind Robert Hartley and well off the battle for third place. So the battle that was 3 cars is now down to 2.
And there too, seeing that happen, just so. But other than that, it was really, really lucky there that it wasn't a lot worse than what he was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times I've seen that sort of incident happen, and then someone else is coming through who's not really paying attention to exactly what happens in front of them, and then absolutely smashes the car that spun around then. So fortunately, I think for William Laster, he did get away with that with no damage, and no scrapes and scratches. So he will be able to continue and can still pick up some very good and crucial championship points. Something else to note is that Andrew Caron, your current race leader, didn't race last time out in Daytona, and this is his first round. He had to miss the first round due to unknown reasons, but obviously it didn't have any negative effects on him because he now has a 5.5 second lead over Aeronom, and that gap is only extending by the lap.
Wow. And looking at lap times as well, it's just he's able to run really good pace. He did have a slip up on lap 17, on his 17th lap with a 55.7. But just looking at this pace, I mean, he's been averaging 54.7s. It's just unbelievable how much pace he has in that baby.
Yeah, I mean, he most certainly has incredible pace, and that even just comes down to traffic management sometimes. I mean, we've seen how good Andrew Caron can be in the traffic, and he's obviously proving that today. You know, he can really time everything correctly, and he doesn't lose all that much time, and that's the most crucial parts, I think, of this GT Challenge Series. I mean, if you can manage traffic absolutely perfectly, then it's going to be a huge benefit to you in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can pull pace like that, I mean, that's going to give you the best opportunity to pull away. And seeing it right now, 5.2 seconds right now over Aeronon, and climbing as third and fourth, seeing in the live timing that third and fourth are now almost 10 seconds behind Andrew. So it just shows how great of a pace Andrew has as he coming up to the 130R, catching up to the rest of the GTD class.
Yeah, it most certainly is. I mean, he's way, way, way far out ahead of this entire field here. So really far and really good pace being put in by Andrew Caron. These guys now just having to deal with a little bit of lap traffic as they work their way through the field. And that's just one of the beautiful things here with this series. You have the GTD traffic and to deal with, as well as your own battle, and that can throw up a big problem for some of these guys. And like we were saying, traffic management, that is the biggest key factor that you're going to see in this race. So we are getting towards pit stop time for GTLM. I'm expecting to see the GTLM cars in just a few laps time.
Yeah, I think they're going to be coming in pretty soon, as they've got about 35 minutes left in this race. It should be getting within their window where these guys should start really contemplating on choosing when they need to pit and seeing what they can do to make the best out.
Yeah, they really, really do here. And I think that this is almost when do the fuel run out? As we see Chris Thorman into the pit lane and David Payton in as well. So David Patton and Chris Thorman both entering the pit lane as we still watch this battle for third. I mean, these guys have not let up here for laps on end.
No, and it's been, ooh, that was very close, as Caden had a really good runoff and just absolutely toyed with Ian. I'm surprised. Oh, here we go. Caden on the inside, but he's going to be on the outside coming into the left-hander.
So Caden Bien around the outside. He tries to make this move work, and he's gonna make it work. Wow, what a move then from Caden Bien. That's gonna put him into third position, and that was an incredible move then for Caden Bien. He will now sit in third place as we head 30 or 41 minutes through this race.
Yeah, and with that, Arrows probably should not start yet. I wouldn't say he needs to start looking at the relative, but this could be interesting to see how quickly Caden starts closing in on Aeronom. So, oh man, this could get really tight here near the end.
Yeah, most certainly can. It's something I've actually just noticed here. Justin Rem of RSR Esports is now down in 19th behind Michael Schlegel, Mitch. So, gonna try to figure out exactly what happened here. This may just be a case of unfortunate issues for him because he hasn't come into the pit lane yet. But I'm not seeing... Oh, here we go. Okay, I have figured out what
way back
happened
in lap 16.
to Justin Rem. So I think he's just spun out through the through the very fast chicane. That's exactly what happened. Through 130R into the tire bollard, and he has hit the wall then. And that is what's happened to Justin Rem of RSR Esports. What an unfortunate race then, because he had so much pace and so much potential to do very well here.
Yeah, and with Rem was running a decent pace too. Had a really great qualifying time. That was just really unfortunate there to have that happen, and especially in 130R and being able to somewhat get away with very little damage. He should be very lucky with that.
Yeah, I mean, that BMW really is built like a tank, isn't it? I mean, I haven't really seen an impact like that happen where they've gotten away with it. So I think he got very lucky then, did Justin Rem, to not be completely out of this race and to be able to continue here. So we have had a couple of pit stops in your GTD field. Anthony Bassano and Ignacio Hortel, those two both run for RSR Esports, so not surprising to see them come in at the exact same time. They are now down the order just a little bit, but pit stops will cycle through here very, very soon. And I think everything will go back to working order.
Yeah. And just looking at how well their pace are. I mean, I even keeping an eye on 8th and 9th. Miguel, Crudo, and Antonio. They're having a really good battle too. And I mean, I'm impressed with the 84. Started 21st, and he's all the way up to 9th. So really great run for him, as well as Rafael Soto as well, starting in 18th, and he's moved up 8 positions up to 10th.
Now, Rafael Sosa, very, very quick. The 3 Delta Racing cars, actually, overall, they've had very good pace in this race. I mean, they've been able to move themselves up the field in their BMWs, and right now they're currently running in 8th, 9th, and 10th. So, very nice result for them thus far in this one. We haven't given a lot of love here to our GTD leader. He's really been out on his own for the entire race. And I mean, that just kind of says huge things about how quick that Band of Others team is. And Dennis Servac here in the GT Challenge Series. I mean, he has been untouched here for the first 45 minutes.
I believe he just finally got lapped by GT Le Mans leader Andrew Karen, which that's very impressive as well. Being able to last as long as he's had before falling a lap down. So very impressive there, and easily pulling away from Jim List. Jim List is just going through the chicane now, as Dennis is already getting ready to start another lap.
Yeah, we're going to actually do a fully on-board lap here with your GTLM leader. So we're going to go quiet here, and we're going to give you a bit of Apex Racing TV on-board camera. Stay tuned for more coverage of the GT Challenge Series. And we are back here for the Ricmotech GT Challenge Series. That was a lap on board with your race leader, Andrew Karen from Ivano Sim Racing. And he currently leads this field out now by 8 seconds over the ever-quick Aero Nam, who's down in second place. So right now, it is basically just a waiting game until these guys come to pits. Who's going to pit first? We only have about 25 more minutes left in this race, so not long at all for this one. 2 drivers already have come in. It's Acosta from Ivano Sim Racing and Travis Schwenke for Excite Energy Ashbury Motorsports. So both of them are into the pit lane. That would mean for me, I think, that his teammate, Robert Hartley, who's currently in a battle with William Laster, probably will come in soon here. If we have seen if we've seen Schwenke and Acosta, both of them running for either Ivano Sim Racing for Acosta and Travis Schwenke running for the Excite Energy Ashbury Motorsports. Obviously a deal then with Robert Hartley and them running in that same team. So I would imagine that we would see them come in about the same time, and that would, for me, mean that possibly we see Andrew Karen of Ivano Sim Racing as well come in.
Yeah, that's what I almost would be assuming too. I'm also keeping an eye on Aero and looking at Aero. I've noticed something really strange. I wonder if Aero has image to the body of that Ferrari. I've just noticed, like, early since he was running mid to all of a sudden now, granted, I could probably say that it could be the tires being worn out too. He's running 55s. Last lap he did run a 54, but it's just really odd to see Aero not pushing in consistent laps all of a sudden to 54s. So really huge there, and especially seeing now Andrew's gap to Aero has gone up to 8 seconds now. So that's a very, very cautious sign I would give towards Aero, is wondering if something has happened to that Ferrari that we don't know about.
And you can see here Miguel Arcruda and Miguel Antonio Arcruda, both running for Delta Motorsport there. These guys keep swapping positions here and working the draft to their advantage to try to also pull Rafael Sosa along and maybe just try and extend the gap as much as these guys can before the pit stop phases. Esteban Rodriguez for F4H Racing, he's into the pit lane, as well as Shad Curran in the 911 RSR here. So those two back out and running, and they're both a little bit further down the order there. And as you can see here, Arbella Acosta, he's gotten by Elvis Rankin. So Arbella Acosta is now up into the 17th position and keeping on climbing. But these two both have come into the pit lane, so that is also crucial for them because they may be able to jump a lot of drivers once the pit stop phases start to cycle out.
Yeah, and if they can time it right, they can really be able to gain a few positions. As I'm also keeping an eye on Andrew real quick to see if he comes into the pits. He does not, however. Andre Saunders does come into the pits, so Andrew out there for another lap, being the leader of the GT Le Mans. So still going to be another question mark of when he's going to be coming into the pit.
Yeah, I mean, we're nearly 51 minutes through this race, so these guys really have gotten some amazing fuel economy out of those race cars here. So Andrew Karen still continues on in the Ivano Sim Racing BMW, as we saw Derek Holland and Andre Saunders both into the pit lane that time. GTD leader right now, Dennis Servac, he is getting lapped by your GTLM drivers, and he currently leads this field out by something nearly 50 seconds. But obviously, he has not pit, and the two RSR Esports drivers have pit.
Well, that'll be a really interesting. That gap might be really close then, especially when you look at the gap. I'm assuming roughly 50 seconds, so that could be very close on coming out for when Dennis does decide to pit.
I mean, we've seen the GTD guys being around the 41 to 42 second bracket for their pit stops. I wouldn't imagine that we would have any too much change in the order then between those guys, but it certainly is possible. I mean, we've seen that happen in the past where, you know, they accidentally misjudge the fuel a little bit, or they take tires and they weren't supposed to. We've seen mistakes be made on pit road. Anything is still possible for any of these guys in the field. I mean, this race, while it may look very unlikely, as Nathan Manning and George Fike are both into the pit lane, while it may look unlikely that Dennis Servac is going to lose this race, anything is still possible, and we've seen that time and time again. Drivers get too comfortable in the race, they make a little mistake, and then it's all over with within a second.
I've especially being witnesses to a few of these. Like, I mean, as I'm seeing the 14 around, that was earlier. He's further down on the list, I believe. Yeah, that was GT Hawkins. I was keeping an eye on Andrew Caron, real quick, seeing if he dove into the pits. He did not, but it's going to be really interesting on GTD just to see out for Dennis. I hope it does, but yeah, it's going to be, as long as you don't make a mistake, and especially on this track where you have really big runoffs, I think you have a good opportunity to really give yourself a good run.
Yeah, I mean, you really do. This is just I do love this racetrack. Let's just say that. I mean, this track is such a fun track to run, and it's just such a fun track. It always provides good racing here, as we see. That is Julian Bell and Ryan Reeves into the pit lane. So Graphite Racing and Alpine Sim Sport drivers in this time. We still are waiting on Andrew Caron to come in. I would assume he's going to come in within a few laps time. I mean, he's been out there for an absolute eternity on the racetrack, yes, especially for this series. I mean, we usually see these guys come in around the 30 to 40 minute mark, like I said early on in the broadcast. I mean, we never usually see these guys extend a pit fuel window out to 55 minutes into the race.
Oh, yeah, and especially with these GTE cars, it's amazing just seeing how long they're able to run, especially on the fuel, as Andrew is not pitting. He's going another lap. But I have seen Arrow's gap, though, has dropped, and it's a lot closer. It's still about 7 seconds. Yeah, 7.3. I wonder if Andrew's fuel saving a little bit here, trying to see if he can make it last a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that he would, because just from my knowledge of the iRacing Le Mans series, who they give the drivers, I think, a full tank of fuel to run on in that series.
Actually,
but here,
I believe it's actually 75%. Let me see if I can find, because I used to download the schedule. I will double check that. We'll do some fact checking on that real quick.
Yeah, because I'm interested to know, because the GTD and GTLM runners are both limited in fuel for this series. The GTLM guys are limited to 85% fuel, whereas the GTDs, I believe, are limited to 80%. If I can find where I just had that. But I believe that is the numbers that we're seeing on GTLM and GTD. And so, yes, that actually, 88% for GTD, 85% for GTLM. So I'm just interested to know how these guys can go so long, because I know some of the GTD or GTLM cars have issues going an hour on a full tank of fuel. So the fact that Andrew Caron's able to make it last this long on a tank of gas is very, very astonishing to me.
Absolutely, and I'm looking it up right now. For Week 8, which is Suzuka, for the Le Mans Series, 75% fuel is for the GTE cars, for the RSR, the 488, and the BMW. All 75% fuel.
And that, to me, is interesting, because the whole reason that I was intrigued with that is that I know that the guys as actually Andrew Caron and Aaron Nam both come in this time. So I guess we figured it out there. The maximum fuel window for every car, it seems, other than Ian Gagon Renault in the 4GT, seems to be about 56 minutes. So I guess answer gotten, I guess, in this series.
Ooh.
So we figured out the maximum time.
We've lost William Laster as well. He is disconnected too, and he was your 6th place runner.
So he actually must
So
have
what
just
happened
disconnected
here?
because that was a very recent incident. We just had William Laster. I'm not seeing anything in here as far as crashes go. Yeah, so we've just lost William Laster on a connection problem. So one of the fastest drivers in the field gone on connection. How unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the replay now. He comes into the pits, and then as soon as he's past the start-finish line, he just disappears. Wow, really unfortunate there.
So Justin Rem, he's had an unfortunate race thus far. He's had another incident that sent him spinning or crashing here. So very unfortunate then for Justin. I mean, he had such potential going into the race. Yeah, just loops the car, what looks to be on old tires then. But now he is all Mike Dam and Ryan Reeves. They're in a battle right now. I believe Dam has actually just gotten by Reeves after he had his unfortunate spin and crash early on in this one. And Ryan Reeves in the Alpine Sim Sport 4 GT. So we're still waiting on GTD leader Dennis Servac to come into the pit lane. But with that, we're nearly crossed over the 1 hour mark here in the Ricmotech GT Challenge. We're also still waiting on Ian Gagnon-Renault to come in, but I think it's no question about it that he will resume in his battle with Caden Bien, who currently sits around 13 seconds, and yes, he's in now.
And Ian's in the pits now.
So Ian into the pit lane. He will for sure come out behind Karen and Nam. But then it's just a matter of how he comes out in comparison to his nearest rival that he had before, which was Caden Bien. I believe he's going to come out in pretty much the perfect spot and right where he needs to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because Caden's about 7 seconds behind Nam. I'm keeping an eye. Ian is still sitting in his pit stall. Looks like he has not changing tires, so just waiting on fuel. Caden's coming around the final turn now, and Ian's pulling very close.
So very close indeed here. We'll watch this as we see our GTD leader, Dennis Servac, come into the pit lane. This is all about Caden Bien and Ian Gagnon-Renault. Renault has come out ahead of Caden Bien. Wonderful strategy call then by Ian Gagnon-Renault in the F4H Racing team to come out ahead of RSR Esports Caden Bien.
Yep, and Dennis Servatek, I hope I said that right. I do apologize if I butchered. He did pull out ahead of Brandon Mitzler. He's got about a 3-car GT Le Mans gap in front, it looks like. Because as I believe that should be, or actually no, that is not George Fike. Actually, so it's a 1-car. That is Darren Clement, who's behind Dennis Servac. Other than that, Brandon can be able to see Dennis, and so we might have a nice little battle here for GTD.
Yeah, we most certainly may. I mean, it's a 3-second gap at this point. And with that, we've just crossed over the hour mark, and we are going to head to non-stop commercials here on Apex Racing TV live coverage of the Ricmotech GT Challenge Series. Don't go anywhere. We have the finish when we come back. So welcome back here to the Ricmotech GT Challenge. We see this battle on your screen. This is between Ian Gagnon-Renault and Caden Bien for the final podium spot. We have just over 10 minutes remaining in this race. 11 minutes to be exact. Aaron Jurkaren currently leads by 8.5 seconds over Aeronam, and then these guys are about 8 seconds adrift of the top leaders as well. But they are in a very fierce battle here today.
Yeah, and right now it's just Caden's going to do everything he can as he's going to duck down on the inside. However, Ian's going to have the line on the inside coming here in the left-hander. Oh! Contact, but Ian saves it. I mean, Caden saves it. And it looks like some gentlemanship there, and Ian gets on the brakes to let Caden by after the contact.
So let's look at this one here. We need to actually take a look at this one from a helicopter cam. If we can get one, here we go. Let's actually just jump back 5 seconds on that so we can see this all unfold. Oh, Ian just gets a little bit sideways into the side of Caden Bien, and then very gentleman-like lets him by and lets him have the position rather than taking it back from him. So, Bien now in third, Renault now on the back foot. But this actually may be a more preferred position for Ian heading into the final few minutes of this race, because he is on the attack rather than on the defense, which I know a lot of drivers do actually prefer.
Yeah, and especially being on the attack, if he's more comfortable being on the attack, he can be able to really push it. For me, I'd rather be on defense because I'm more easier focusing on what's in front of me and letting the guys behind me try to find their way around. But a lot of these top drivers, it's best to be on the attacking, because if you can be able to give yourself a good gap, you can figure out what you want to do and make your choices wisely. And who knows, wait until the last lap, take the opportunity as a draft, especially coming around those final few corners, and try to make the overtake.
Oh, look at this. We have a very close one then from the 64. That was a lapped car, actually, I believe. Yes, that was it actually a lapped car? No, sorry. I'm trying to find the 64, who we just saw have a bit of an incident. That was David Patton, who was a little... Oh, yes, he's actually a GTLM car, sorry. That's why I was missing him. So he goes for a spin in turn one. He was awfully close to Ignacio Hortal, who currently right now is just about half a second behind his teammate Anthony Pisano. They're actually, after pit stops, down in 4th and 5th. These guys, keep in mind, were in 2nd and 3rd before the pit stop phases. Now they're in 4th and 5th. Jim List has taken over the 2nd, and Caleb Lavender has taken over 3rd.
Fairly impressive run, too, for Pisano and Hortal. They're trying to see if they can make any gap back, but I'd say roughly they're about a good 5 seconds behind. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge with 7.5 minutes left. But like you say, anything can happen, especially when you add in GT Le Mans cars to the mix.
Yeah, I mean, that's really just the biggest question mark then, is the traffic scenario, as I'm seeing that Dennis Servac has crashed. No, he is not, actually. So he is indeed okay. But yeah, that's really the biggest scenario here when you're in multi-class racing, is the traffic aspect. If you're the slower class, how is the faster traffic going to affect you? And if you're the faster class, how is the slower traffic going to hinder you? And how are you going to get by them without losing too much time? I mean, that really is just like the biggest question mark in multi-class racing.
Yeah, and it's always the biggest question mark, because there's times where if you make a mistake and wipe out another class, it could easily come back to haunt you later on. And especially in a league like this, where if you make a mistake like that, it can easily haunt you for the next few weeks before you get to race against each other again.
Most certainly, and there was an incident then under review by Race Control for the incident between cars 78 and 42. That's Brandon Whitworth and Aero Nam. So let's get a replay of this one here. And I just am interested to see what happened here. Aeronam recently, man, he's not been on his same form. Oh, yeah, just a bit of contact then with the GTD car and spins Whitworth around. But back to what I was saying, though, Aeronam, he's just not been in the same form with traffic that he has been in the recent seasons. I mean, we've seen him have a very bizarre incident in the GT Challenge, or in the Ricmotech Sports Car Series a few weeks ago in Interlagos, and then again here. So it's interesting to me that Aeronam is struggling with traffic because he used to be the king in traffic and could really make up all of his time like that.
Yeah, and it's very, very odd. I mean, seeing Aero just struggle, I've never seen it. Out of all of the times I've seen him in the sports car series, in the Ricmotech Sports Car Challenge, I've never seen him have this kind of hiccups before, and it's very concerning. That could we possibly starting to see an Achilles heel from Aero, and are we starting to see as the car behind him? That was Raymond Rodriguez just flying off stage right. But back to what I was saying, are we seeing something out of Aero that we haven't seen before? And is that invincible Aero starting to become penetratable, and where he's not able to win these races all the time like he has before?
And look at this. Aeronam has incident responsibility, and he is going to get a drive-through penalty here. He's only got 5 seconds to Caden Bien. So Aeronam, like you said, I mean, we really could be seeing the undefeatable Aeronam be defeatable and make these mistakes. I mean, we saw him go mistake-free for seasons on seasons. I mean, he absolutely was just able to dominate the championships, and then now we're seeing him crack, I think, a little bit, and we're seeing Aeronam make mistakes. He's not coming into the pit lane this time, but that will give up second, third, fourth, or that will give up second, third, fourth, fifth, and I think he's even going to come out in sixth or possibly seventh, eighth, or ninth.
I think it could even get as worse as 10th. Because I'm assuming that I'm assuming about 40 to 50 seconds. More preferably, I give it more 40. I mean, that gap brings it to about 55. So he could easily even drop to 12th if he's not careful.
Yeah, I mean, he really could. I mean, this is absolutely nightmarish for Aeronam here in the latter stages of this race. Keep in mind, we only have 4 minutes left to go. 4 minutes left to go here in this race thus far, and we've got Aeronam now having a big problems here in the latter stages of this race. Now 3 minutes left to go. We shouldn't see all that many more laps for race leader Andrew Caron. He may only get another 2 laps left in this race. Actually, I'm almost positive he's only going to have another 2 laps.
I think it's 2. Yeah, I think it's 2. And then here's the other question, too. You see Caden and Ian fighting. Them hearing this now, they know that they can fight for second. Question is, though, is Ian going to try to force it and get second? Or is Ian going to just go ahead, take what he's got now, seeing that he's actually going to be in third now instead of fourth? And so that's going to throw up another question mark with this battle between Caden and Ian. What are they going to do?
So then there was a crash here with David Payton, sorry. So Payton is into the pit lane. I'm trying to find a replay here of what happened to David Payton. Here we go, actually. We do have a replay here. He was spun. Oh, no. That's one of the RSR Esports cars. Let's go back about 10 seconds here. Let's try to figure out exactly what happened. Oh, the RSR Esports BMW into the side of him here. Let's get a view from the chopper camera. So Patton pulls out. He clips the RSR BMW. That car goes into the Armco. So does David Payton. Both drivers into the Armco barrier, and then actually Ignacio Horta was the RSR car involved in that one, and he is into the tire bollards as well. Let's ride now. Let's actually go back just a few times here. Let's ride on board with Ignacio Hortel here. And you can see, I think he's just going to get clipped in the rear. He's not expecting it. Has to put in some counter. Yeah, just has to put in some counter steer. Gets all under, just all sorts of sideways, and then into the Armco he goes. Very unfortunate there. And a car 50 as well as a drive-through. That's Rafael Sosa.
And to update on where Arrow is, Arrow has dropped all the way down to 5th as he's just ahead of the 84. As we're also hearing now that the 64 has also gotten a drive-through penalty, which is, I believe,
that was David Payton with that incident.
Find the 64. That was man. So a lot of drivers getting nailed here with penalties with less than 20 seconds to go in the race.
And Andrew Caron,
Andrew
Caron has started his final lap of the race here. So this is the last time around the race circuit for Andrew Caron before he will take dominant victory in the GT Challenge. But Caden Bien is in second. Now it's a battle for second place on the last lap of the race. Is Ian Gagan Renault going to be able to get close? Arrow, no, oh no, he's off and into the wall, and he's reset back to the pit lane. Oh, he's been clipped by the 42. The 42 of, that was Brandon Whitworth. Oh, he got sideways, then Aeronom into the side of him. So this is disastrous here for Aeronom. Gets clipped by the D2D Sports Mercedes, spun around up and into the wall. Aeronom's now had to reset back to the pit lane. He's going to drop all the way to the rear, so it's gone from good to bad to worse here for Aeronom in the matter of 5 minutes.
Wow. I was flipping over to see what was happening, and then all of a sudden I saw that wreck. Oh man, you feel for Aeronom. Just, oh my goodness.
And I mean, he's got to be looking back at this wondering where it all went wrong. I mean, he had such... This has really just not been a race where Aeronom's been on form. I mean, that incident obviously not his fault at all. Really couldn't do anything about that car there. As you can see, 42 and 90 incident limit violation as we see Justin Rem in the 333 for RSR Esports into the pit lane. But drive-through penalty for the 42 and for the 90. So that's Julian Bell, who's into the pit lane. Sorry, it may not have been the 90 actually, but the 42 of Brandon Whitworth is into the pit lane this time. But we're going to go around the final corner. We just barely missed it then. Andrew Caron is winner here of the second round of the Ricmotech GT Challenge, but the battle for second isn't over. Caden Bien and Ian Gagan Renault, they're all over each other here, but Bien is going to come out with the victory over Ian Gagan Renault, and he will take that one in dominant fashion. Hartley's going to finish in fourth, and then it will be Miguel Arcrudo if he can survive 2 more corners to take the win in that one. Let's see where your GTD leader is. He's currently on the back straightaway, so we have a little bit of time there. So Miguel Arcrudo and Miguel Antonio Arcrudo and Miguel Arcrudo both coming out of the blast corner for Delta Racing. They finish side by side then, and then it will be Los Gidiolio as well, finishing in 7th. Elvis Rankin in 8th, sorry. Albert Arcrudo, Acosta, sorry, in Mivano Sim Racing finishes in 9th, and it's Brian Cartier in 10th, and then Rafael Sosa, or Brian Cartier, and then it will be Arthur Chan, who will round out your top 11. Then let's see, your GTD leader has crossed the line now, and he is victorious. What a victory for Dennis Servac and the band of others. I mean, he really had a dominant victory in this race, did he?
Absolutely, by at least a good 12 seconds, I believe, was the gap between him and Jim List. So just a great run by Dennis Severek. Jim List, just another great performance. Just can't pull out that win again, but Jim's really good at being the consistent driver. So it will be very interesting to see what he does on the next round.
Yeah, most certainly will be then, and we'll wait for everyone now to cross the start-finish line and finish out this one before we can go into your race results. So, I believe we have now race results are just about finalized here. and we can go into that with you. So, just waiting on everyone to finish up here, the final drivers to cross the finish line, and then we will be able to go through your final race results. But I just want to go ahead and get your thoughts on that one. I mean, that race really had a little bit of everything. I mean, it had strategy, it had controversial finishes then in the dying moments and massive incidents that we would have never expected to see 5 minutes ago.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I was able to witness the start, and oh my goodness, that was just, I mean, just that huge grid, and especially some of the GTD cars with that start. But overall, it was some great running, great fighting overall with multi-class racing. But man, that big story that's going to hang over my head is trying to think of what happened to Aero Nam. I mean, I'm looking back at it overall. He started second in GT Le Mans. He's going to be finishing 30th overall behind the GT Daytona cars. I mean, that's going to be a big question mark on my mind. Going into the next race, finding out what happened. I mean, this is something. I mean, I am still baffled seeing that happen.
Yeah, most certainly am. And now final race results are up on your screen for you. Andrew Caron takes the race win by 19 seconds over Caden Bien. Ian Gagnon finishes down in third with Robert Hartley in fourth. Miguel Arcrudo in fifth. Miguel Arcrudo in sixth. Los Gidiolio in seventh. Elvis Rankin in eighth. Abner Acosta in ninth, and Brian Cartier will round out your top 10. Then it will be Arthur Chan in 11th, Travis Schwanke 12th, Rafael Sosa in 13th, Michael Schlegelmich 14th, Mike Dam and Ryan Reeves. That'll be top 16. Then it'll be Justin Rem and Nathan Manning. That is your top 18 as we cycle through the grid now. George Fike in 19th, Raymond Rodriguez in 20th, Derek Holland in 21st. And then that rounds out for what is your GTD or your GTLM finishers. Then it will be Dennis Sarak, who wins on GTD. Jim List will finish in second with Caleb Lavender in third. Anthony Pisano, after having a great race, finishes down in fourth. Esteban Rodriguez leads out the F4H racing crew with Brandon Misler finishing down in sixth. Then it's Tyler Galmente in seventh and Bobby Childs in eighth. Then we head down another page here on our results, and we'll see the non-finishers of this race, or the non-finishers of GTLM, and that will be Aero Nam in 30th, and then Julian Bell, Chad Curran, GT Hawkins. Then we head down a little bit more of your GTD field. Jan Ford will finish at 34th overall. Then it'll be Kevin Brogas in 35th, Jeff Jacobs 36th, Brandon Whitworth 37th, Tony Kern in 38th, and then we let the rest of the grid cycle through here now. So a lot of drivers overall finishing out with strong races, a few very controversial ones as well, with some major incidents latter into that. And now we do have a driver here for interviews. We're not going to waste any time. Let's go ahead and get your race leader, Andrew Caron. Andrew, what a race from you. I mean, you really just had a dominant performance overall in that one, and you were able to come home with the win by 19 seconds in the end. Pretty good race from you.
Yeah, for sure. I was really excited about this one. This is my favorite track, so I did a lot of practice and make sure my laps were pretty fast and consistent. But that's sure one of the track that I'm the faster in this car.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly showed that you had some pace here today. You were really able to stretch away from Aero Nam there for most of your stint. And then towards the end of your stint, we saw you drop off about a second to Aero Nam in that final lap before you came into the pit lane. What kind of happened on the lap? Was it traffic-oriented, or were you just kind of saving a bit of fuel trying to make it around?
Well, about that time, I saw the gap I had on him, and maybe it was the traffic. I don't remember right before the pit stop, but For sure. I didn't know that lap was slower, and
Yeah, well, you definitely had a dominant race victory overall, and that's quite good from you, even though you did miss round 1 at Daytona. You definitely came on strong here for your first round here from Suzuka, and that's certainly going to put you in a pretty good spot in the championship.
yes. I'm really happy to be here. These guys are really fun to race with. For sure. I'm looking forward for this season.
Well, you certainly did in a dominant performance here in round number 1. Who do you want to thank, and who gets done for you?
Well, I want to thank my team at Miveno, all my teammates. They're really supportive, and they helped me improve a lot. I would like to thank Evner to have joined me, even though he wasn't lucky in this race. But I hope he will be luckier in the next races. And our sponsor, Trustmaster.
Well, congratulations once again on your victory here in round number 1. We hope to see you back in a few weeks' time.
Thank you.
So that was Andrew Karen then, and I think we should have Ian Gagnon ready. There we go. So Ian already getting into the interview room there. Ian, welcome to the commentary booth. A third place finish from you today. It wasn't exactly as you would have planned, but still a pretty good result from you in the end.
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. With fight through all the race, I'm sweating like a pig right now. I gotta go take a shower.
Yeah, I mean, this looked to be a challenging race overall. I mean, you had an amazing battle with Caden for a very long portion of that race. I think it lasted for over 30 or 40 minutes. You guys were...
I believe it was 30 minutes.
So it was certainly long, indeed. You guys were really, really close. In the end, he was just able to pip you by about 0.4 of a second at the line. What kind of went wrong in the second half of the race?
I don't know if you guys missed the braking into the airpin and got hit by GT3 overtaking him. So I took damage from that and got 9. So since then, my pace kind of dropped. I was kind of able to follow him, Caden, with his draft, but I wasn't able to overtaking him.
Yeah, well, certainly, we didn't actually catch the incident there with you in the GTD car. I'll have to go back and see if I can find that. But that is so unfortunate because, I mean, when you have something like that, you're so close to the end, and you know that something like that's been hampering you for the last half of the race. That can certainly be frustrating. But you still had an amazing race, finished in 3rd position. I'm sure you're looking quite good in the championship after Daytona.
Yeah, it's pretty... The season's going well. Kind of heard of what happened with my other teammates, so I guess at least one of us could take a good place finish, me and Esteban, I think. So yeah, I think we're gonna change our mindset for the next race.
Well, congratulations once again on a 3rd place finish. I know you got some shout outs to give, so who do you want to thank?
Yeah, again, like to 4H, to you guys for the broadcast, and again to the guys at Ricmotech for doing this series. It's a good series, and they have a lot of job to do, so I want to thank them.
Well, thanks again, Ian. Hopefully we get to speak with you in a couple weeks' time for round number 3.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So, Tyler, we had an incredible race here tonight. It was a very action-packed one indeed. We saw a lot of big incidents towards the end. I mean, everything kind of just fell apart in the last 5 races, as we know it at least. I mean, whoever was writing for the script for this one.
Well, shoot, that was a wild script ending anyways, especially... Oh my goodness, I'm still baffled. I mean, that just seeing how I'm just scrolling through the entire field, especially with all of the incidents that happened at the start. I actually had a message in my ear earlier that because of that huge melee we had at the start, that a lot of the drivers in GT Le Mans and GT Daytona were able to save some fuel. It would have been interesting to see if they were able to if it would have been really great if they could if they were able to save enough fuel to possibly try to make it without having to worry about stopping. But I mean, I'm just looking through the fields, seeing like Michael Sligelmich, he started 25th, finished 14th. Arthur Chan, 22nd to 11th. I mean, Miguel Antonio Alcarudo. I hope I said that right too. I mean, he started 21st and finished fifth for his team. I mean, it's just a lot of impressive runs, but man, just that huge cliffhanger of everything that happened with Arrow Nam too. That cliffhanger is going to be it's going to be sitting there for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how everything kind of pans out for him because he had a pretty good Daytona, but he really just didn't have a good round here. And it's hard to bounce back from a bad round in this series. And it's just really hard to get yourself back up there in the championship.
And especially when how big of a difference it was too. I mean, when we were looking at it again for GT Le Mans, it was he dropped all the way down to 22nd in GT Le Mans. I mean, that's a huge drop from being originally in second, finishing comfortably in second, might I add, to all of a sudden having an unfortunate incident in front of him, getting caught up in it, and dropping all the way down to 22nd. I mean, that's just really unfortunate luck there to add to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think he's in the points paying positions down in 22nd. No, he's not. Actually, yeah, 1 point he got. So that's very, very unfortunate then. But we do have one more interview for you tonight. We have Jim List now joining us on the commentary booth. Tyler stands by with him.
Yeah, Jim being able to come in second. Just another great run for you, Jim. What was your reaction to especially when you had the opportunity after the full course caution? Where were you looking from the that vantage point, trying to figure out what you can do to keep up with Dennis?
Well, I was looking at my fuel mileage, and I knew right away that Dennis was uncatchable just by his speed during practice, and the way that he's able to make a setup last as long as he can throughout the race. And I knew my fronts go out like midway through the race, so my whole objective was to just not push the car, not get into an incident, and not get into somebody's dirty air, so I would have a little bit more downforce on the front, because I saw the two guys up in front of me. I think they were battling for second and third, and the one guy was right on the other guy's tail, and they were both pushing each other pretty hard, and I just kept that second gap. And I tried a couple of times to close the gap, but right around like the 6/10 mark going into Spoon or into the kink and up there, you just noticed it right away. You're having to put in so much more steering input, and the car would just get really snappy on me. So I was just trying to stay back, stay cool, and kind of just look at my fuel mileage, save as much gas as I possibly can, so I could make a quick pit stop and then get out in front of those guys.
And especially with then adding in all of the factors of multi-class racing. I mean, how close was it? Were you did you feel like you were going to be involved in a few of those incidents? There was especially seeing a lot of the multi-class incidents we had in this race.
Yeah, I think it's just it comes to the fact that some people are a little bit more impatient than other people, and these guys are used to driving these GTLMs, which just cream us in the corners. But Suzuka is such a tight, twisty, narrow track that they weren't able to use their extra downforce to get a good run on us. So a lot of them were trying to put their nose where it didn't belong. And I let a lot of them by just because I didn't want to deal with the potential of getting into an incident with them. So I just told them go on the inside, I'll let you have this corner, let you have that corner. And I really didn't have an issue with anybody. There was a few guys that kind of wiped my nose a little bit, but I mean, at the end of the day, everybody got out of there, so I mean, I can't really complain about it. Everybody raced good around me, and I think it's just communication we got to work on. being able to, open up the door and let those guys know that, yeah, you can take that.
Yeah, well, definitely a great run for you, though, Jim. Being able to start further back in the field, but was able to come away and pull off a second. So great run again for you, Jim. And I know you definitely got some guys to do some shout outs for. So who do you got the shout out for?
I want to shout out to Ricmotech and Performa, Texas Performa Graphics, and all of the D2DE guys. We're all a team, and we all work really hard to put good cars on the grid. And we've been a little bit unlucky in the sports car and in the past couple of races. So it was really nice to at least have one of us up there on the podium where I think we do belong. So I just want to thank all those guys, and I hope we can get another one here in the season. Maybe even a 1, 2, 3, hopefully.
Well, great run again, Jim, and we definitely wish you luck in the next round, and hopefully you'll be able to get that win. As I know how hard you guys are, both you and your team of DTD Motorsports, trying to just do everything they can to be able to get some wins. So I really am pushing for you guys to hope you guys get some wins this season.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
There you have it, Tyler.
There we go. Second place in GTLM or GTD, sorry, Jim List. But that's all we have time for here tonight on Apex Racing TV. We hope you enjoyed coverage of Season 2, Round 2 of the Ricmotech GT Challenge live from Suzuka. Join us back next week for the Ricmotech GT Challenge series, or for the Ricmotech Sports Car Series, sorry. We'll be back at our normal time again. Once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.